April 1st. Trump stands before the nation and tells America the war is going well. He says core strategic objectives are nearing completion. He says a deal with Iran is close. He says 2 to 3 weeks. That same evening, USS George H.W. Bush, a 100,000-ton nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, quietly departed Naval Station Norfolk, Virginia, along with 3 destroyers, over 6,000 sailors, and Carrier Air Wing 7, 1,586 sorties worth of combat-certified aircraft. Nobody announced it as an escalation. The Pentagon called it a regularly scheduled deployment. But here is what a military analyst sees when they look at the full picture. 3 carrier strike groups converging on the same region, 5,000 Marines already at sea on amphibious assault ships, and 2,000 paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne loaded and ready. That is not the force posture of a commander expecting a peace deal. That is the force posture of a commander who has already decided what comes next. To understand what the USS George H.W. Bush deployment actually means, you have to look at the pattern, not the individual announcements. Week 1 of the war. Trump announces initial objectives. The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is already in the Arabian Sea. March 13th. Trump announces a pause. Strikes on Kharg Island's oil infrastructure deliberately avoided. That same week, the USS Tripoli departs Okinawa, Japan. 2,500 Marines. F-35. B stealth jets. Osprey assault aircraft. March 19th. Trump announces a 5-day ceasefire. That same day, USS Boxer departs San Diego, 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Another 2,500 Marines. March 26th. Trump extends the pause to April 6th. That same week, 2,500 additional Marines and 2,000 paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne are ordered to the region. March 31st. Trump addresses the nation about peace. USS George H.W. Bush departs Norfolk. 6,000 sailors. Carrier Air Wing 7. 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers. USS Ross, USS Donald Cook, USS Mason. Every ceasefire announcement, every peace statement, every extension of the deadline, each one followed within 24 to 48 hours by another major military deployment heading toward the Persian Gulf. This is not coincidence. This is sequencing. Think about what that pattern means operationally. A carrier strike group traveling from Norfolk to the Persian Gulf takes approximately 2 to 3 weeks. An amphibious group from San Diego takes similar time. The USS Tripoli from Okinawa, roughly 10 to 14 days of transit through the South China Sea and Indian Ocean. If you want all of those forces to arrive in the same operational window, ready to execute simultaneously, you have to stagger their departures by exactly those intervals. That is what we are watching. Not a diplomatic dance, a deployment calendar disguised as a peace process. The diplomacy is real in the sense that Trump genuinely wants a deal if Iran will accept his terms. But the military timeline is running in parallel, and it does not stop while the negotiations proceed. Every day the talks continue. Another ship gets 1 day closer to its operational position. The 2 tracks are not alternatives. They are running simultaneously toward the same deadline. Let's be precise about what this ship is, because it matters for understanding its role in what is being assembled. USS George H.W. Bush is a Nimitz-class nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, hull number CVN-77, 1,092 feet long, over 100,000 tons of displacement, powered by 2 nuclear reactors that allow it to operate for more than 20 years without refueling. Its embarked air wing, Carrier Air Wing 7, includes F/A, 18 Super Hornets for strike missions, EA, 18G Growlers for electronic warfare, and radar jamming, E-2D, Advanced Hawkeyes for airborne early warning and battle management, and F-35C, Lightning II stealth fighters for penetrating defended airspace. During its pre-deployment exercise completed March 5th, Carrier Air Wing 7 flew 1,586 sorties over 28 days, 693 daytime arrested landings. Its commanding officer stated publicly, "The carrier is ready for major combat operations anywhere, in the world. The strike group traveling with the Bush includes 3 Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers, each armed with Tomahawk cruise missiles, Standard Missile-3 interceptors, and 5-inch naval guns. The USS Mason serves specifically as the air and missile defense commander for the group. This is a pure strike and air superiority package. It is not a transport ship. It is a mobile air base capable of generating 150-plus combat sorties per day, designed specifically to control the skies above whatever operation is happening below it. And the operation happening below it already has a name. It is called the Tripoli Boxer Amphibious Assault Group. 5,000 Marines, heading for Kharg Island. This is the military analysis that explains everything. When you look at the 3 forces being assembled, the USS Abraham Lincoln Strike Group, the Tripoli Boxer Amphibious Group, and the USS George H.W. Bush Strike Group, they are not 3 separate operations. They are one integrated combat system, each piece doing a specific job. The USS Abraham Lincoln, attrition, has been the primary strike carrier since day 1, hitting Iranian military infrastructure for 5 weeks, degrading air defense systems, missile launchers, command and control nodes. Its job? Wear down Iran's ability to resist before the assault begins. The Tripoli Boxer Group, assault USS Tripoli with the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, 2,500 Marines, F-35B stealth fighters, MV-22 Osprey tiltrotor aircraft capable of inserting infantry battalions 800 nautical miles from the ship. USS Boxer with the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit, another 2,500 Marines, the same combined arms capability. Their target, Kharg Island, the terminal through which 90% of Iran's crude oil exports flow. Air defenses destroyed March 13th, under continuous drone surveillance. Oil infrastructure deliberately left intact, because a captured Kharg is leverage, not rubble. The USS George H.W. Bush. Cover. An amphibious assault group approaching a hostile coast is vulnerable. The Tripoli and Boxer are large, slow-moving targets. They need air cover during their approach. They need electronic warfare support to suppress Iranian coastal radar. They need missile defense against Iranian anti-ship weapons launched from the mainland 15 miles away. The Bush provides all of that. EA-18G, Growlers jam Iranian radar and communications. FA-18, Super Hornets hit any Iranian fast boat squadrons attempting to intercept the assault ships. SM, 3 interceptors aboard the USS Mason shoot down ballistic missiles aimed at the amphibious group. F-35Cs provide stealth strike capability against any remaining Iranian coastal defenses. There's also a 4th element that rarely gets discussed. The EA-18G Growler is not just a jamming aircraft. It can fire AGM-88 HARM anti-radiation missiles, weapons designed specifically to home in on and destroy radar emitters. The moment an Iranian coastal radar activates to track the incoming assault ships, a Growler from the Bush can fire a HARM that follows the radar beam back to its source and eliminates it within minutes. It is the electronic warfare equivalent of punching someone the moment they turn on a flashlight. This matters because Iran's remaining threat to the assault group is primarily its coastal missile batteries and drone launch sites along the mainland shore. Without functioning radar, those systems are effectively blind. A blind coastal defense cannot effectively target fast-moving assault ships in open water. In military terminology, this is called an amphibious task force with carrier cover. The carrier group does not land on the beach. The carrier group makes sure the Marines can get to the beach, and that Iran cannot stop them once they leave the ships. If this level of military analysis is what you came for, hit subscribe. We break down exactly what these force movements mean, without the spin. Drop a comment. Are you proud of the military planning you're seeing here? Or worried about where this escalation leads? We read every comment. Tell us. Let's put the April 1st speech in its full context, because the gap between the words and the movements is the story. Trump told the nation that core strategic objectives are nearing completion. He said Iran's air force is gone. Its navy is gone. Its missile production capacity is degraded. He said the U.S. is winning big. He did not mention the USS George H.W. Bush leaving Norfolk that same day. He did not mention the USS Tripoli had already arrived in Middle East waters that same week, with 3,500 Marines and sailors aboard, confirmed by CENTCOM. He said a deal is possible within 2 to 3 weeks. He said if no deal is reached, the U.S. has its eyes on key targets. Iran's power plants, oil wells, and Kharg Island specifically, 2 to 3 weeks. That is the exact transit time remaining for the USS Boxer Group from San Diego. That is the window in which the entire assembled force, 3 carriers, 2 amphibious groups, paratroopers, reaches full operational readiness simultaneously. The speech was not a peace announcement. The speech was a final ultimatum, with a military countdown built into it that Iran's military planners understand perfectly. Iran has been consistent in its public position throughout this crisis, and that consistency is itself strategically significant. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi stated publicly, "We never asked for a ceasefire, and we have never asked even for negotiation." Iran rejected the U.S. 15-point peace plan and responded with 5 conditions of its own, including recognition of Iranian sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz and full compensation for war damages. Iran's Defense Council reiterated its core threat. If U.S. forces attempt to land troops on Iranian coasts or islands, Iran will immediately mine all maritime access routes in the entire Persian Gulf. Here is the military assessment of those statements. Iran's public position and Iran's actual military capability are now significantly diverged. 5 weeks of sustained strikes have destroyed its navy, its air force, and degraded its missile inventory. Iran is still capable of causing damage: drones, remaining coastal missiles, mines. But its ability to sustain a prolonged defense against an amphibious assault with full carrier air cover is not what it was on February 28th. Iran knows this, which is why its language has shifted from military threats toward diplomatic conditions. The 5-point counteroffer through Pakistan is not the response of a side confident in its military position. It is the response of a side buying time. And the USS George H.W. Bush, leaving Norfolk on March 31st, is the U.S. response to that calculation. Time is the one thing the assembled force is designed to eliminate. Here is the military assessment as of April 2nd. 3 carrier strike groups are now either on station or en route: the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea, the USS Gerald R. Ford in the Red Sea, the USS George H.W. Bush crossing the Atlantic, positioned to move through the Suez Canal within days, if ordered. 2 amphibious assault groups carrying 5,000 Marines are closing on the region. The USS Tripoli has already arrived in Middle East waters. The USS Boxer is approaching. The 82nd Airborne Paratroopers are also deploying, the U.S. Army's 18-hour rapid response force, trained to parachute into hostile territory and secure airfields and key infrastructure ahead of a larger assault force. This is the largest concentration of American naval firepower in the Middle East since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. 3 simultaneous carrier deployments to this region have occurred only twice in the past 2 decades. The current buildup surpasses both. Defense analysts at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy noted that more than 150 combat aircraft are now either in the region or days from arriving. Combined with the amphibious strike capability of the Tripoli and Boxer groups, U.S. commanders currently have the ability to execute simultaneous strikes across multiple targets. Suppression of Iranian coastal defenses, vertical insertion of Marines onto Kharg Island, and sustained air superiority over the entire northern Persian Gulf, without any single asset being overextended. That is the definition of operational readiness for a major amphibious assault. April 6th is 4 days away. That is Trump's current deadline for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face destruction of its power plants, oil wells, and Kharg Island infrastructure. Every hour that passes without a deal, the assembled force moves closer to the line where the order becomes inevitable rather than optional. Trump talks peace. The Navy sends a 3rd carrier. The Marines are already at the doorstep. In military analysis, you do not evaluate a commander's intentions by what he says from a podium. You evaluate them by what he positions on a map. The map right now shows one thing clearly. Everything needed for a major amphibious operation against Kharg Island is either in position or days away from being in position. The carrier cover is arriving. The assault force is ready. The reconnaissance is complete. The defensive systems on the target have been destroyed. Iran has 4 days to make a decision that its military is no longer in a strong position to back up with force. Whether the assault order comes before or after April 6th, that is the only open question left. We will be here when it does. Subscribe and drop your comment below.